I'll start by saying it's a great pleasure to have you on as the first guest on our new show. A perfect guest, I think, with your obviously being American and having been in the Premier League for some time now. I read an interesting stat that said the other day that you have missed just 4 Premier League games since joining Everton. It'll be interesting to learn, your secrets of your keeping so fit and avoiding injury, and also just how much are you enjoying playing for Everton these days? Does it get better with every year? Just tell us a little bit about how you're feeling about being in England right now.
Yeah, I've been here 10 years now, believe it or not, and I've been lucky. I work really hard, of course, but I've been lucky. I've sustained a few injuries maybe at the right time, whether it be early in the week. That's given me a few days to rest, or maybe the times I've gotten sick or gotten the flu or caught a cold. It was maybe early in the week, and I had some time to kind of rest. And I've also played through a lot of pain and injury, which I don't deserve a pat on the back. Most players do that. But again, there's been a lot of good fortune. I think it's a mixture of, like anything that's really good, it's a mixture of hard work and good fortune. I don't like to miss games. I don't like to miss trainings. I'd probably say on that end, I've missed about 4 training sessions since I've been at Everton as well. I don't like to not be on the field. I think it's important. I think that's where you become better. That's where if you're going through a good run, that's where you sustain that. I think if you're going through a bad period, I think that's where you can correct things and help to make it better. Spend a lot of time in the gym, trying to stay physically fit. My nutrition, I'm on top of. So there's just so many things. I think, as a professional, this is what we get paid to do, to look after our body, to always perform at a high level. And I think you have to do everything you can to gain that edge. But yeah, life at Everton is good. I love playing for the club. As I always say, it's been a fantastic journey so far, and long may that continue.
Now, interesting to read recently, Tim, you had a very good game against Southampton that you were hailed as having a really good performance and a big part of the clean sheet there. But at the same time, there's been some reports saying that maybe this season hasn't been one of your best so far for Everton. How do you feel about that? How do you deal with reading that kind of criticism? Does it touch you at all, or does it sort of spur you on, or do you tend to ignore it?
Yeah, I don't really read it. I mean, the truth, I think a lot of people say that, and they stick their nose in the paper. I don't really read it. The people who I trust and the people whose opinions matter to me are the ones that I'm around every day, my teammates, my coaches. And listen, these are all guys who I love and who I trust. They don't pull punches with me. If I play well, they pat me on the back. If they think I was crap, they tell me, and they don't mix their words. And, I would, to any critic, I would say all you have to do is look at our defensive record, and this season it's probably up there with the best we've had. So clean sheets have been down. I think clean sheets are down across the Premier League, but our defensive record, our goals against, and all the rest of it is right there on par with some of the best in the league, and I do mean that. So I would just say check your stats. I would also say goalkeeping at this level is very difficult. So you get made to look like a fool every now and again. I think that's something you have to accept and move on. And I think that's what makes the good goalkeepers great. They deal with pressure and adversity, and they just move on. They push it to the wayside.
Tim, talking about that kind of criticism, obviously you're part of the goalkeepers union, so to speak, and David de Gea has been receiving a lot of criticism of late, particularly from Gary Neville, who you'd think knows what he's talking about. What do you make of it? Do you think he is United material, or is he starting to get found out?
Well, I think he is. I think there's a learning curve. If you forget how old he is, he's not a grown man. He's a young kid. So there's a learning curve. It's certainly, he's learning in the frying pan. Old Trafford's not an easy place, but I think you have to learn. You have to make mistakes. You have to adapt and get better. Whether he's United material or not, who knows? But he had a big price tag, and along with that comes pressure, and that's goalkeeping at the highest level. Whether you play at Manchester United, say again.
Sorry, go ahead.
No matter where you play, if you play in the Premier League, if you play across Europe in the big leagues with the big teams, there's pressure, and you can't get away from that. And you only find out after criticism and after tough times how good someone's going to be. I really believe that. So I think he'll be given time, and I think he's done. I think he's done he's done pretty well. Yes, of course, he's young, he's made mistakes, that happens, but for me, he's been very good.
Tim, I'll be interested to ask you that on the theme that you sort of touched on there is, how do you think, as a goalkeeper, you're different now at 33 than you were as a teenager or as a young kid? You know, which are the areas where you feel you're much more improved now than you were as a youngster?
Yeah, I think goalkeepers get better with age. I always say, simply because you just play more games, you see more shots from every angle. You see more situations. When you're out there, when you first get out there as a kid, there's so much going on. And I always remember when I was a young kid growing up, Michael Jordan talked about being in the zone, and someone said, "What does the zone mean? What can you describe what being in the zone is?" He said, "Everything just slows down. The game could be going 100 miles an hour, the crowd could be yelling, ear piercing, but everything slows down. It's in slow motion for me." And I think that's what happens as a goalkeeper. You get older, and you watch the best goalkeepers, and I think even when the ball's in their box, I think if you put just a camera on the best goalkeepers in the world, it would look like you would think the ball's down the other end because they're so calm, they're so poised. And I think for me, that's what happened. The game slowed down for me. I see things differently because I've seen it more often. And I think most importantly is I now know that the way I do things are right. I think when you're young, you're trying to find a style, you're trying to find a way to do things. I'm not saying that it's the best in the world. I'm saying it's right. And more often than not, I get it right. That's why I play at the level I do. And I have confidence in that. So when I was younger, people tell you, do this, do that, and then you do it, but it's not necessarily what works best for you. But because you're young and fragile and you don't know any better, you do it. Now I know what I'm doing. And like I said, some days it comes off, some days it doesn't, but more often than not, it comes off.
But wouldn't the fans say, especially in this De Gea case, that you shouldn't be learning those kind of things in front of 60,000 people at Old Trafford? That's something you learn, and then you take the gloves at Old Trafford.
Listen, that might be an argument. It's a possible an argument I agree with. But you know what? The boys spent $19 million on him, and that was their decision. They had 19 million pounds to spend on any goalkeeper in the world, and that's the one they chose. So, I certainly wouldn't disagree with the Manchester United board. They more than often get it right. So, but yes, as you said, that could be an argument. Maybe you need to learn your trade, not in front of 75,000 or whatever it is. But again, those are decisions that are being made much higher up.
Give us an insight into how De Gea might be feeling and coping with this, because obviously you followed in the footsteps of Fabian Barthez at United. Of course, there was the spectre of Peter Schmeichel still there. How tough is it? Because and then of course Edwin van der Sar is his Schmeichel and Barthez combined. How tough is it for him to cope with that, having been there yourself?
I think it's always very difficult to. Like I said, being goalkeeper sometimes is virtually impossible. You can't win for trying. And I just think, I don't know. I don't know him. And who knows how we'll be coping. Like I said, the best goalkeepers in the world just deal with it and get on. And you find out the true measure of a man in these tough times. And so I don't actually know. And look, I came to Everton, who had arguably one of the best goalkeepers in the world at the time, Neville Southall, and that's who I'll always be measured against, rightly or wrongly. And it's just something you deal with.
Tim, from a technical standpoint, I'm interested in we often watch games now, and the frequent criticism is goalkeepers pushing the ball out into the path of a striker. It happened to De Gea recently, and obviously in the modern game, there's a lot less catching of the ball. How do you make that decision? Are there still times when you want to catch the ball, but your coaching tells you to push it away? And when you're pushing it away, are you very conscious and able to direct it every time? I mean, it seems a difficult skill.
It's a difficult skill, but it's one that you can almost master. And I think as I said before, the best goalkeepers figure out a way to do it. Yes, that you try and catch. For me, I try and catch balls that are in a comfortable area. If I'm at full stretch, it's hard to absorb the shock of the ball. Therefore, you find a lot of times you may end up spilling that ball, so you try and get it into a good area rather than catch. Again, there's also, and we talk about this all the time, these balls move and dip, and they're doing all sorts of funky stuff, and something, on television from a million miles away, you might think, that was right in the goalkeeper's belly. Why didn't I catch it? It's because it's moving and dipping and diving. And so you have to be confident in your decision making. One of the things that I've mentioned before when this topic has come up is, you try and push the ball into a good area 9 times out of 10. But on that 10th time, there's a striker breathing down your neck waiting for you to spill it, and you get punished for it. So it's just one of those things that, as you said, it's about decision making. It's about trying to put balls in good areas, but at the same time, you're not going to get everyone right. Balls are hit at the speed of light; they're moving all around, and so every now and again you're going to be made to look foolish without question. That's just again something you have to deal with.
Now, last year,
punching is a relatively recent development in Premier League football, isn't it? Because it used to be that goalkeepers in the British game always caught and almost used to laugh at the continental keepers who frequently punched.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's something I've heard since I've been here. That punching
I'm older than you, Tim.
I know. That in football, that the continental keepers parry rather than catch. I don't know. I don't know how much of that is made up just for argument's sake, or how much of it is real. That's basically saying that the English goalkeepers all have the best hands, et cetera, et cetera. Who knows that? I mean, I don't think that's truly correct. The game has modernized, and as I said, we're not using a leather waterlogged ball anymore, that comes straight down your throat. It's a ball that's got a lot of pizzazz to it, and you have to adapt, and it's just part of that process.
Pizzazz, I like that, Tim. When we talked last time on the phone, you said to me that Didier Drogba was the most difficult opponent you'd come against in the Premier League as a striker. Does that still hold true, or have you seen anything since Drogba left us, or that makes you think there's somebody to compare with him in the Premier League these days?
Oh no, last year, that Drogba was still around. So, I find most games pretty difficult. I just think that's the level we're at. In terms of one particular face, I think that would be hard. Look, Van Persie's fantastic. His goal scoring record speaks for itself. I think with Wayne Rooney, I think you see a guy who just is the complete striker, left foot, right foot, laces, whatever it is. He just hits the ball very clean. So he's somebody who, when he's sniffing around the edge of the box or the ball falls to him, he's going to more often than not hit the ball cleanly. And those are the hard ones. It's the guys who hit the ball really cleanly all the time. Because there's some guys who, they come up to the ball and you just think they're going to top this or they're going to hit it because they're not great strikers of the ball. But he and Van Persie, they just seem to always make really good contact.
Well, before we wrap it up, Tim, I know we haven't got that much longer, but we have to ask Champions League qualification this season. How confident are you that Everton are going to do it and deserve a place in that top 5? And then I guess also with the cup run, what would be a good goal for Everton? What would be a successful season in your eyes come May?
Well, I think over the last couple of seasons, we've seen what a good cup run can do to the club, to the players. It galvanizes you. It just gives you that extra lift. And we've been to Wembley, twice, a couple of years ago for the semifinal and final, then last year for the semifinal. So, we want to get back to Wembley. Obviously, lifting the cup is the utmost. That's the most important part of it. But certainly getting that good cup run, getting back to Wembley, feeling like we have a foot in the door, that's important. I think that lifts everybody, lifts the spirit of the club. As far as Champions League qualification, look, we're the dark horse. Let's make no bones about that. I think the ability for the teams in and around us to freshen up their squad and chop and change and name a different team, every other week helps them, gives them the advantage. But we're playing well. It's up to us to kind of keep pace. And I think from here till the beginning of May, you're going to see positions change a little bit. Maybe drop one place, maybe go up one place, maybe come back to where you were. It's that fine of a line. I think once May comes, and you're looking down the barrel at 4 games, you can kind of say, okay, maybe we can pick up some points here. Here's who Arsenal has, or here's who Tottenham has, and see how you stack up. I don't know if those will be the teams in and around us, but you get what I'm saying. So it's realistic, but I think we are the dark horse.
Well, Tim, I know we will wish you the best of luck. I'm sure all of our listeners will as well. We really appreciate you coming on, being the first guest on this new show, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you again in the future. Best of luck for the rest of the season.
Well, that's really exciting. Thanks for having me, guys.